Does the season expectations change now? Do they change? The Jets are sitting at 3-2, a surprise for a lot of people. And now things look a little bit different. I will say this. Before the year started, my record prediction was 8-9, and I had the Jets at 3-2 with wins over the Browns, Steelers, and Dolphins, which so far from my preseason predictions, 5 for 5 right now. We're rolling in hot for where I thought this team would be, before the year started. I will say, though, that this next stretch of games was a completely different mindset before the season started versus now. Big difference, right? They have the Green Bay Packers on the road in Green Bay. Then you have the Denver Broncos on the road. And then it's home against the New England Patriots. Those 3 games. Now, normally, you would think, okay, let's say no context of this year, just in general. Jets haven't beaten the Patriots since 2015. Divisional opponent. They just got their first division win since 2019. This past week, Jets haven't beaten New England since 2015. So historically, not great. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, they're in the playoffs every year. On the road in Lambeau, tough. Denver, the Jets never play well in Denver. They got their doors blown off by a terrible Denver team last year. So most people, myself included, before the season started, looked at this stretch and said, this is very difficult. That's a tough stretch of games right there. Those are 3 teams. Well, 2 of those 3 teams were in the playoffs last year. The Broncos, before the year started, looked at as contenders with Russell Wilson. The Packers, a top team in the NFC. And Patriots, their roster took a step back, but it's the Patriots. You look at that 3 stretch of games and you go, okay, that's tough. And then, but maybe after the bye week, things ease up a little bit. Well, not anymore. This 3-game stretch right here for the New York Jets is huge. And I'm amped up that we get to talk about something that actually matters in October. It's not, oh my God, we're checking Tankathon there at pick number 3. And if they start losing or if this team wins and they move up and now they're pick number 2, no more of that BS, right? That sucked. I hated doing that. Now we get to talk about, well, what if the Jets win 2 of their next 3? Because if they do that, then you're going into the bye week at 5-4 in a conference that's pretty wide open, which the AFC looked stacked before the year started. Stacked. Every team in the AFC West looked like they were going to be contending. The AFC North looked like they were going to be strong. But that hasn't really been the case. Let's look at the Packers game, this upcoming game. And sure, we'll break it down more on Thursday. We'll get really in-depth with this one as we normally do in these breakdowns. But this Packers team is struggling right now. They just lost a game to the New York Giants in London. A home game for them, technically. But still, nonetheless, they lost to a Giants team who, the Giants are 4-1, but this is a game, they were heavy favorites. It looked like, okay, this is a game where they're just going to come out and be a downright dominant force, and they lost 27-22. They needed overtime the week prior to go up against the New England Patriots and beat the Patriots, who was on their 3rd quarterback. And they allowed 24 points last 2 weeks ago to Billy Zappi, right? And then this past week, Daniel Jones and the Giants, they hang 27 on him. Jets offense is coming off a 40-point performance. Let's see. Is this real? Is this type of offensive production real? Because if so, you could go punch for punch, theoretically, with Green Bay. It's asking a lot. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's chalk. Obviously, they're going to do it. No. It is a big ask. But that'll show you how serious this Jets team is. If they're going to go back to being a pushover team and just they are what they are and not well coached or too many mistakes or young players doing stupid things or penalties, then they probably won't be competitive. But with how this team has looked the last few weeks, they look a lot more competitive. I know the I almost said the Packers. That's who they're playing this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers don't look any good this year. But going on the road in Pittsburgh, winning a game, 10-point comeback in the fourth quarter from your young quarterback, that doesn't look like something very Jets. Dropping a 40 spot on a divisional opponent where your young quarterback plays turnover-free football, has 210 yards on just 21 passing attempts, so a 10 yards per attempt. Your second-round rookie running back going for 200 all-purpose yards in his fifth ever game. Does that sound very Jets-like? No. I'll give you a hint. No, it doesn't. But okay, maybe that Green Bay game's not the one that you win. Okay. How about Denver? They stink. Nathaniel Hackett makes Adam Gase look like Vince freaking Lombardi. Nathaniel Hackett is awful. And talk about, like, there's so many parallels where this guy has success with a Hall of Fame quarterback and then is gifted a head coaching job. Broncos are 2-3 and a very unimpressive 2-3. They have put up this year, ready for this? 16, 16, 11, offensive explosion for 23 points in week 4, and then 9 points in an overtime loss at home to the Colts. Are you serious? If that, like, that's not a game where it's like, oh, you know, yeah, maybe the Jets go in there and win. No, at this point, with how they've been playing and how they've looked, you have to beat Denver. I know it's a road game. I know you're going to the West Coast, something the Jets never do, changing time zones. It'll be a later game. They seem to never play good in situations like that. Want to show it's different? Want to say, hey, let's take the receipts, that whole gimmick, this isn't the same old Jets? That's a win. You have to win that game. Denver stinks. Russell Wilson's been atrocious. I just went through it. They have an offensive-minded head coach, and they scored 16, 16, 11, 23, and 9 points with Russell Wilson, Javonte Williams for the first couple weeks of the year, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. Like, this is a team. They have weapons. They shouldn't be that bad offensively, but they are. And their defense led up 32 points to the Raiders. But, other than that, they've been pretty good defensively outside of that game, 17, 9, 10, 12 points. But that's one you got to win. And then can you finally show that you can compete with the New England Patriots, who they're coming off a win over Detroit, who they don't look very well coached. New England's 2-3. They put up 29. They won 29-0. But this is a home game for the Jets in week 8. That's one that you got to figure out a way to get. And the Bills game's obviously kind of tough after that, before the bye. Sorry, but we don't even have to worry about that one. We won't even talk about that one yet. Let's just do the 3 games before the bye week. Can you go into that game against the Buffalo Bills at 5-3? Because Buffalo, I don't think that's very fair. Like, I don't think it's a fair ask to say you got to beat Buffalo. You're probably getting swept by Buffalo. But if you can go into that bye week at 5-4, that changes a lot. That really changes a lot. Then you come out of the bye and you're playing teams like, I'll run through. How many teams on this list scare you? Patriots, Bears, Vikings, Bills, obviously, Lions, Jaguars, Seahawks, Dolphins. Who knows? Maybe that game in week 18, January 8th, maybe that's a game where you're fighting for a wild card spot with the Miami Dolphins. That's how expectations could change if you do your job and win 2 out of the next 3. That would be tremendous. Now, if you lose 2 or 3, then you are sitting at 4-5. No, 4-4, I guess. Sorry, not a math guy. Never claimed to be. Going into the Buffalo game, and probably going to be 4-5 after that Buffalo game, which, yeah, you could still turn, your season around and have a little bit of success after the bye. But can you imagine going into the bye week and going into November with a winning record? That's on the table and not that crazy for the Jets. So, yeah, I think expectations do change a little bit. And that's awesome. And that's something fun that we can talk about this week because like I said, in years gone by, it's we're checking Tankathon, we're doing mock drafts and seeing, which pass rusher, which quarterback are we looking at? Nope. It's October and let's see this big 3-game stretch, and this will prove what this team is. If they're going to be a pushover team or if they could be, who knows, maybe a team that's contending for a wild card spot.